If we go to irrigation, we're going to be brought to the first page. We've got actions right here: stop irrigation, activate irrigation. So if you have an irrigation running and you need something done in the field and you have to stop it, you can click stop. The thing is that when you do stop an irrigation in drop control, it stops it and then doesn't continue from where you left off. So it's not technically a pause button. It will actually stop and show a gap from the time that you stop it to the time that you reactivate it, which is that activate irrigation button right here. So we've got irrigation scheduling up here, and if there was a program running, we would have that displayed in irrigation programs. On the irrigation schedule, we can look at the pump system, look at any specific date we'd like to see when we irrigated before. We can do a today view, which is what it's currently on, a week view, and then right here what we have highlighted for Fresno State is peak hours. So we can enable those or disable those. If we wanted to look at the olives and look at a week's view, you can see we had no irrigation scheduled. But if we click back 1 week, we can see the scheduled irrigation. So the top bar will be what's scheduled. Below it will be the real irrigation, or what actually happened in the field. And as you can see on scheduled, it says it's a 24-hour irrigation right under duration. Right below it says 23 hours, 59 minutes. It's only a matter of 1 or 2 seconds. If we were to click the scheduled box, it's going to throw us out to a page here. It'll be highlighted with a black bar. It'll show start time, end time, type of irrigation, so we can do it by end date and time, volume, or what's pretty typical is duration. That's how this was scheduled. We can also see the user who scheduled it. If we wanted to click on the bar below that, the real irrigation, it's going to show us stuff like a flow rate, pressure after the filter. Here we can see flushes that happened. Also see the duration of the irrigation. Right here's a little bit more in-depth view of what actually happened. So start time was on the 17th, end time on the 18th. It was executed fine. Like I said, it was a 24-hour irrigation, but a matter of 1 second. Volume and the theoretical volume, so what actually happened versus what was theoretically in there, based off of whatever flow meter rating we're given at the start. And then here's that volume difference, 5% difference in what actually happened. This is the flow rate that we calculated and the average pressure after the filter, 35.61 psi. So if we go back again, we're back at that same area. We'll start off with going through a zone irrigation. So what zone irrigation typically means is per block or per zone irrigation. So irrigating 1 block at a time. If we wanted to do the olives, we can choose whatever zone we have selected. You can have different pump systems. So if we were to go to almonds, we can see that we have 2 zones we can irrigate, versus on olives, we can just see the one that we have the option to. We click zone irrigation. And then here's that weekly view that we had up before, but if I wanted to just redo it to today and see what's going on, we can just hit that today button. All right, so like I said before, we could have 3 different ways to irrigate with zone irrigation. You could do irrigation date and type, volume, or duration. What's pretty typical is that duration. So if we wanted to say 3 hours, 0 minutes, based on whatever we have entered on the flow meter, it's going to kick out an automatic volume. Since it was 3 hours and at 110. If we wanted to add a fertigation, we could just click new, select our tank, select our fertilizer, and this dilution percentage is showing you that it's going to be 46% nitrogen, and then the rest would be 54% water. Fertigation type, we also have 3 ways. You can do it by date and time, you can do it by volume, or proportional injection. You can clean out the lines before and after for however many minutes you'd like. And then based on the gallon percentage, it's going to be kicked out during the irrigation. You can hit enter and you can see via volume. So just for example, if we're going to hit 10, that's how much volume in gallons it would pop out, and then it would follow that same duration. It's as simple as deleting them, and you can do the same thing with adding them. Just clicking this new button over and over again. Let's say you have 2 different types of fertilizers or 2 different tanks. That's how we would schedule multiple fertigations. pH is basically the same way. Add the pH injector at your set point. So if you wanted to be at a 6, you can enter your pre-irrigation time in seconds and post-irrigation time in seconds, and that'll clean out the lines before and after. So that's how to set a zone irrigation. So with an immediate irrigation, it's basically the same setup. If we were to go to almonds, we have different zones. So technically a zone irrigation, but without the ability to choose when your zone irrigation is going to start. Hence immediate irrigation. It's going to start right away. Got olives, click immediate irrigation. It's the same exact thing as the others up here. The format will pretty much be fairly similar. You can do the same exact thing. Click on a week, go back, go forward, click today. All right. You can do the same exact thing, end date and time, volume, duration. Only thing you can't do is choose the exact start time. Same thing with fertigation. We can add new fertigations and we can take them away. Same goes for the pH. Select our tank, select the site point, clean up the lines before and after for however many seconds. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to schedule a group irrigation, which is fairly typical with drop control and drop control users. If you have multiple zones that you'd like to program to irrigate around the same time, this is instead of doing an irrigation program. Let's do the almonds because I know they have more than one zone. All right, so there we have the zones. How this is set up right now is in cascade mode. So what cascade means is zone 3 will irrigate, and then after it's done, zone 4 will irrigate. So technically they will irrigate separately. If we wanted to run them at the same time, which we do, we can hit this parallel button. And let's say we had 4 zones. What these boxes are here for is if you had 4 or 3 different zones, but you only wanted to irrigate 2, you can just click the one you don't want to irrigate off. Technically, if you're going to do this though, might as well just zone irrigate. Click them both on, click them parallel so they'll run at the same exact time. And for this, we'll run a duration. Just do 10-minute irrigation as an example. And let's say if we were back in cascade mode and we didn't want these to run at the same time, but they're preset to run zone 3 and then zone 4, if you wanted to change that and put zone 4 ahead of zone 3, all you have to do is just click this up arrow on zone 4 and it'll throw it up first. All you got to do to reset that back down is click the down arrow, click back on parallel, duration, set it for 10. Fertigation on group irrigations, though, we cannot set multiple fertigations. Let's go ahead and schedule this. Okay, it's been successfully sent. And we're going to give that a couple of minutes to activate. But what we can see now is what's scheduled on both zones. If we wanted to blow this up, all we got to do, click the expand arrow. Now we can see these more in depth. Like I said last time, we can see the irrigation type. So it's a duration, duration of 10 minutes. Status, it is still sending, not sent to the network yet. We usually give it about 2 or 3 minutes to send in. If we go back, and you can do the same thing on both pump systems. Last time I showed you guys the olives, and then for the almonds on a multiple zone schedule, this is what it'll look like if we wanted to go back. And we can see that this was scheduled from a program. What it means from a program is if it has this little blue highlighted bar, we're going to be able to see that by what was scheduled versus what actually happened. Almonds, and we'll click today. You can see that we already ran an irrigation. Expand, and there in those little bars is where we are. Okay, and then we can go back to that map. And this is kind of where we're going to see at a live view in real time that the irrigation is going to be sent to the network and running. Like I said, we're going to give it a few minutes though to send to the network, communicate with the nodes, and then open and close the valves and turn on the pump. Back to irrigation. Sent to the network, yes. Status was saved. Duration was 10 minutes. If I click on that scheduled irrigation button, there we go. And then we can see what's been scheduled from the 25th to the 2nd. We just scheduled it. It's supposed to end at 10:23. Zone 3 and Zone 4. End date and time. And volume, 1,000 gallons. All right, let's go back to that map. And as we can see right here on the map, on Zone 3, we can see that it's watering. If I wanted to zoom in, click on Zone 3, status watering. If I wanted to expand this, we can see these little blue bars right underneath it. So it's been running for 2 minutes and 16 seconds as of right now. Now if I just click on irrigation, move this up, expand that, scroll in, and I can see a more in-depth view of how we're irrigating. All right, and if you wanted to see the irrigation that we're currently clicked on, you can click on either one of them. Hit the click here button. And if we did have sensors enabled for this area, like a flow meter, we would be able to see the same data that I showed you earlier on the olives. So for example, if I went back to the olives, clicked on a week, clicked back, you can see the real irrigation here. And that's what it looks like with those different sensors uploaded. You can see the flow meter, pressure and after, before and after the filter, highlight and zoom. If we wanted to isolate variables, you just click this off, see that it's running, and we can see a flush right here, pressure building up and then dropping. We can reset the zoom, isolate pressure after the, or isolate the flow meter on the main pipe, and then we can see flow. And these drops should coordinate or kind of follow those flushes. So we can see both lines are dropping at the same exact times. All right, so let's go back And these will die out in a few minutes. They were only 10-minute irrigations, but this is what it's going to look like from the map. And we can see currently watering. And you can also see your scheduled areas that are not watering. So since we have 3, this is the first, second, and then the third. You can see that these 2 are running. This is not operating. We'll click back on irrigation, and now we'll go through some programs and templates. Let's go to View Templates, since the template is the first step to establishing a program in Drop Control. We can see that the templates that we've already got created, it'll show us which pump system we've got it created with, as well as the name for that template. And here is where you're going to be able to edit the template or delete them, change them however you want. So if the fall olive set, for example, needed to be changed, you can keep the same exact name, keep the pump system, and you can edit the parameters of the irrigation. Let's go ahead and create a template. We'll pick the almonds, and we can just name this one Demo. What this cyclic button is here for is usually if we were to run, let's say during the day, and then again at night. We're running past midnight and ending around 2 a.m., Drop Control will usually take a 24-hour period break in between different irrigations. But let's say you had to irrigate that morning. So we ended at 2 a.m., but now you need to irrigate at 7 a.m. Usually Drop Control would irrigate the next day at 7 a.m., but with cyclic irrigation, it's going to tell you that you can irrigate that same morning. So basically, it's bypassing the Drop Control standard system. We don't need to irrigate through the night though on this demo, so I'm just going to click that back off. Create the template. And let's run a multiple. So all we have to do to add some more zones, or if let's say you wanted to irrigate this same zone, but take a break for an hour and irrigate later, all you got to do is click this page button. Same thing with zone 4. If you wanted to take them away, all you have to do is click this X button. But let's go ahead and run them at different times. And if this pump system had the option for fertigation, this pH would be replaced with fertigation, and the pH would pushed out to the right, just like it is next to options. Okay, so let's, for example, let's say we wanted to run at 8 o'clock. Tab over on day 1 for an hour on the same day. Now, what the days mean is, so this is the first day of irrigation. If I was to click this to day 2, you can see the volume automatically changes and increases because day 2 is running into 9 a.m. the next day. So technically a 25-hour irrigation. Let's keep it on day 1. And like I showed you guys before on the group irrigations, it's automatically in cascade mode, but it has no icon associated with it. In templates and programs, it does have icons. So this is this cascade mode. Cascade is saying that zone 3, after zone 3 is done irrigating, then the next zone is going to start once it's done. So as you can see here, 8 to 9, and this one automatically recognizes because it's in cascade that it's going to start at 9 o'clock, even though this is the same zone. So if we wanted to take a break, all we have to do is click free. We can take an hour break, so we'll run it at 10 on day 1 to 11 on day 1. Based on the flow meter calculations we have set in Drop Control, we're getting this automatic volume kicked out. And then you can do the same exact thing for the next zone. Let's say you wanted to run this one at the same time as zone 3. All you would have to do is click this parallel button, and it's automatically going to recognize that the irrigation above it wants it to irrigate at the same exact time. Back in Cascade, you can see that it's going to start at the end time of the one above, and then in free, we can do whatever we want to. But usually we run these two sets at the same time, zone 3 and zone 4, so let's make it fairly similar to the zone 3 irrigation. 8 a.m., day 1, And how it recognizes that it's 8 a.m. and not 8 p.m. is because all of our stuff is in military time. Run this one in free as well, and we'll take another hour break. 10 a.m. day 1 to 11 a.m. day 1. Let's go ahead and save that template. Template was created. If you want to go and view it, the most recent template that you're going to create is going to drop down at the very bottom, whereas the most recent program for drop control will appear at the very top. We can see we named it demo. We have the pump system selected as almonds, and here we can go in and edit or delete. Now let's do the next step of creating a program, how long we want to set this template to run. Create the program, select the pump system. Since we made the template under the almonds pump system, we're going to make the program under the same one. We'll name this one demo as well. And all these templates, since we selected the almonds pump system, all these templates are only for the almonds. They won't show up or pop up with any of the olives templates. There's our demo template. So right here it says start date. Here's an area where you can enter time, but you don't need to, since this already knows to start at 8 a.m. Say we wanted to run a week long, or let's start this next week. So here's our time selector. We can see that we're going to run into next month if we're going to do a week later. So we'll click next, and we'll choose the 2nd, which is next Wednesday. End date, since we want to run for a week, click there, and we'll click the 9th. So what the percentage modifier does is we have the capability in drop control to add water by 30% or decrease the amount of water we're putting on a field by 30%. What would have to be done there is you would have to deactivate your program if it was currently running, go back in, edit the program, and change the modification. What that's going to do is prolong your runtime to add on more water. If we wanted to irrigate every other day, that's why we have the without irrigation button. Every other day, so taking a break between Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Put this 1 there. Every other 2 days would just be 2. Every 3 days, 3. Let's do every 1. Right below it, we have a notice end. So whichever user is currently logged into the drop control account, it will automatically populate your email. Clicking on that button, it pops up mine. And if we needed to add anybody else that isn't in or logged in as of right now, all we would have to do is insert a comma separator. And then you can enter whatever email you need to. What that notice end is also going to do is going to tell you the day before your irrigation program is going to end, that your program will end soon and you should go back in and modify, or just let it run out, and then you can go back and drop control later and either edit the program, edit the template, pretty much do whatever you want to do. Since I have it without irrigation for 1 day, it's skipping days, which means my week-long irrigation is now going to need to change. If I was to hit this save button right here, drop control will automatically recognize that I'm not going to be able to irrigate my full length desired, and it'll have me change my end date. So if I was to click save, the date range cannot be selected because it ends in the middle of the applied template. So it pops out an automatic suggestion to end the next day so that I get the full week's use. I can change that to the 10th. Simple as that. Hit save. Program was created. Now we can go back, view the program. Like I said before, the templates, the most recent template will show up at the bottom, but your most recent created program is going to pop up right here at the top. Here's the name and the pump system. So demo, almonds, the template, any percentage modifier that we had in there. We created it today, but we want it to start next Wednesday and run until the 10th. Days without irrigation, we have 1. And here's where I said you can go in, deactivate your program, and edit it so that we can go in and add a percentage modifier. To activate the program and schedule the irrigation, we just hit this activate button, click activate, and usually it'll take a little while to send to the network, but we should be able to see it on the schedule that I was showing you guys earlier fairly soon. Irrigation program was activated. Let's go back. We're on that first start time, and now we can see the irrigation programs. So since we have one activated and currently running, or not currently running, but currently programmed, we can see it right here. Same thing, pump system, the name of it, and then the status. Start within 6 days. All right, and if we wanted to see that on the schedule, all we'd have to do with this time selector is let's look at a week's view, and let's look into the future. Expand the page, and now we can see that it was created from a program to run next Wednesday, right here. Duration, 1 hour, end date and time, status was saved, not yet sent to the network, but after a few minutes, just like that previous irrigation we just scheduled, it will be. Same thing with the olives pump system. If we wanted to click on that, now we can see it highlighted. The one that we're looking at is in the black bar here. If you wanted to just switch, all you got to do is click that, and you can see that the black bar moves. That is specific to right here. We can see that I was the user that scheduled it for a duration of 1 hour. Based on the flow meter, we've got that many inches calculated. Status was saved and not yet sent to the network. And it also has the program name. It already automatically identifies it as a program, like I said before. If it's got it highlighted, it'll notify us right there. Okay, let's go back. And let's say right before the irrigation, you wanted to stop that and go back in and edit it. You can go to View, go to View Programs. Now we can see that pump system again. It was activated. All we have to do is deactivate. Deactivate. Program has been deactivated. Same thing with sending a program in as deactivating a program. We're going to want to give it a couple minutes to activate. Now, the difference with this is this action right here will stop an irrigation with the current program. And like I said before, it won't pause. Technically, you won't start from where you left off. Rather, it'll show a gap in between the irrigations. So it will stop whatever's currently happening and then continue to run whatever's scheduled in the future. So actions right here are stopping at what's current. When we deactivate that program, let's say we deactivated that program while it was still running. If we deactivated the program while it's running, it will continue to run out whatever program we had scheduled for now. So on that template, if we had it scheduled at 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., and we deactivated the program at 8:45, it'll continue that scheduled program, but it will stop and not irrigate after that 1 hour break that we scheduled. To stop it and deactivate it, you would have to click stop irrigation, and it would stop whatever's currently happening in the field. Then you would have to go to view programs. And then, like it said before, we would have to deactivate it. And that would stop it now and in the future. Okay, so right here, let's go back, expand this, and now since that 10-minute irrigation was over, we can see the results. So what was scheduled, duration for 10 minutes, sent to the network, yes, and the status, it was executed, okay. If it was still running, the status would be running. Right under here is what actually happened. Like I said before, if we had sensors connected to it in the field, we would see more flow meter data. But we've got the parameters here, 1013 to 1023 in automatic, 9 minute 48 seconds. Volume difference is right there. And then if we had the flow meter connected on this particular zone or pump system, we would see a flow rate there. Same thing with any fertigation. If we had a fertigation scheduled, it would pop down a list of all fertigation variables such as flow, theoretical volume, duration, mainly the same exact thing that's up here. If we go back to that map and we click on irrigation, now we see that nothing is watering. So before we had it that it was watering and it was running, and this one was not. Now these all three are the same.